Hello, Internet.
Are you really saying that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Internet.
Hi, Internet.
Hello.
Hi, Internet. What have we got here?
This is my E30 M3 project, which I've had for a very long time.
Established 2015?
Yeah, like 2 years. It's always been in the background and always been second best to the DW86, as we had lots of improvements and issues with the DW86, so this has always taken a bit of a back seat, and it's kind of sat on ramp for a long period of time.
Plus, you've also had track cars, so you haven't had that burning desire to have a track car.
So you started this just before we did the major revisions for the Corolla a few years ago, when we made it lightweight and everything else, and then that spiraled out of control. And
yeah, and the original idea was that I had my blue 997 GT3 at the time. And this was kind of to replace that as a slightly cheaper way of doing track days. I think I've done a track day.
Slightly cheaper ways of doing stuff.
Yeah, how funny.
I understand. But yeah, so I think I'd done a track day at Donington, and I'd done in a GT3. I'd done like a set of tyres, which is £1,000, and I'd also smashed my windscreen, which was like 1,200 quid.
Time to throw the car away.
I was like, I'll put it in the bin.
Get a new one.
Yeah. So the idea came about to do this. I've always loved E30s, and this one had actually been around at Craig's at Dynatalk here for a while, having a bit of work done from the customer at the time, and he'd put an S65 engine in it, which is out of the newer E90 M3. I was never really a massive fan of the engine choice, but I really liked the car, and I ended up doing a deal with him to...
What is that engine for people that don't know BMW codes?
It's out of the E90 and E92 M3.
4 litre?
Yeah, so it's a 4 litre high revving V8 basically, and it's the last of the naturally aspirated M3s.
Cool.
It's a hell of a good engine, and also because I've owned a couple of E92 M3s and an E90 M3, the engine works really, really well in that car, especially when combined with a DCT gearbox, which is...
A DCT gearbox?
Yes.
Okay,
so
in an E30?
Dual clutch transmission.
So you're going for the full purist...
That's it, yeah, we're making them really happy.
That wasn't your original plan?
No, it wasn't. I was going to have it manual, but I love my E90 M3 so much, DCT on track. It was so quick, so I thought the idea of having something that's vaguely similar, but weighs 600 kilos less, would probably also be quite good on track.
It's going to be a weapon.
Yeah, basically my E90 on HSDs and standard brakes at 1680 kilos around the Nürburgring was unbelievable.
There's also an elephant in the room, and you are now 40, and your calf isn't as good as what it used to be.
Yeah, so
and you don't want to use a clutch pedal anymore.
I have I've torn my calf muscle 4 times now, so my left calf muscle. So not having a clutch is also a good thing on some of my cars. Yeah.
All right then. Well, let's have a look at this thing. So now, it's quite serious. It looks a bit racy already.
Yeah, it started life as a kind of, we think, a motorsport shell. It was used for something at some point. It's not, it doesn't have, I think it's ProDrive chassis numbers. It's not an official car that was used for any real racing, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. It doesn't have any like significant racing provenance.
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't think you would do anything like this to a car like this if it was that, because they have so much value.
Plus,
to them.
you've saved it in a way, because it wasn't. Did it need any work on the shell, or was?
The previous owner had actually done a lot of the work to. I think he put a new roof on it and stuff like that. Unfortunately, painted it before starting to do the engine.
It's not staying this colour. Is this your favourite colour?
This is my least favourite colour of all colours.
Is this Viper green or Signal green?
Porsche GT3 colour.
Viper green.
Yeah.
It's like, almost like the 90s Tic Tac.
Yeah.
Like livery.
Which flavour's that?
Peppermint.
Okay. Yeah. So cool. Decided to stick with the S65 setup. A lot of thought was put into whether I should put it back to an S14 motor, but reliability is key for me. If I can't do lap after lap after lap without something breaking, I'm not going to be happy. So,
plus, they unless you buy a really tip-top engine, like a top-end one, they are still a bit slow. E30
yes,
M3s.
absolutely.
And the noise from the V8 as well is.
Oh yeah, that's all right. So one of the things that we did was, for the previous owner had this installed, but I'm I'm really particular about where an engine sits in an engine bay. So we kind of made Craig, lovely Craig here, kind of rip it all out and start again, and had the engine pushed back literally as far as it could go. So I think we about 3 inches.
No, it was over 4 inches.
Oh, okay.
Over 4 inches back.
So it was a really long way back, and it's as low as it can sit as well. We'll show you the sump in a minute. That's had a lot of work done to it. Part of the reason why the airbox here is in pieces is because, again, I'm really keen to make sure that we allow the bonnet to shut correctly without having stupid bulges.
As you all know, our Corolla has been through many bonnets, and that's all down to Phil's OCD about holes and various things.
So I've started the work on fabricating a new airbox system for it, so it's got much shorter trumpets on it as well, so it'll be sort of a higher revving thing, and you know, I might get really carried away and fit cams to the engine at some point.
Has changing the height of the throttle bodies changed any of the engine stuff?
Engine stuff.
Properties.
That's what I'm saying about it being sort of peak power. This will help at the top end.
Oh, right.
And not that it needs it, because it's such a revvy engine anyway, but it's not. I'm not too bothered about losing a bit of low down grunt, because I do not want this to be a wheel spin car. It is not a drift car. If it can't have traction where I want to and it gets a bit too wayward, I'm not going to be that happy. So I've got lots of drift cars. I don't need another one. One of the other things that you can see at the front here is a lot of the work that I've had done by Nixon Motorsport, to basically tub and clearance the front end. And if you look from this side, you can see, again, one of my priorities here is ride height, being able to run the car really low, even though it's on big 17s here. So all of the clearance work has been done here, to allow the car to sit where I want it, basically.
So normally, a lot of people who watch this channel may be familiar with tubbing arches, but for reasons of steering lock on low cars, this is not a drift car, but you still want to be able to have proper suspension.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to maintain full travel, you know, with a low ground clearance, but we need the suspension to work properly, basically. So that's why I've done this, and it's all been reinforced as sort of a crash structure, but with some compression in it as well. So, you know, if the worst does happen, it's not going to jolt my head off, hopefully. One of the other things that we're working on at the moment as well is, because I have to show you underneath what we're doing with the lower arms and the geometry down there, but basically we're having to move the top mount of the coilover forward. So we're creating some new top mounts to use, so we can have camber caster adjustable top mounts, but with the top mount moved forward here. So,
is there a reason for that and not using the traditional E30 M3 geometry?
Well, this is moved forward. The front of the front wheels are moved forward. Probably it's at least 50 mil, extending the track, which is what they did on the race cars, to make them handle a little less snappy, basically. And that's the idea, that we can move it forward, but I can still have the correct caster angle. Caster is going to be a really important part of this car in terms of setup, because we're running a manual steering rack as well, which again we'll show you.
Very cool.
Why are you running a manual steering rack over electric? Or
we want to give it a go, because they steer the best. You get the best feedback out of a manual steering rack.
And also reliability and heat management.
Yeah,
as well.
kind of. And
is that just because it is just going to be a track car?
It is just going to be a track
So
car.
if you were going to daily this or use it as a road car, you would not run.
I don't think I'll be doing much in the way of steering.
It's going to have number plates though, yeah?
Toyo tyres. Yeah, that's the idea. You know, it'd be nice if if I could tolerate driving it to a track, but then when you've got a trailer, why bother almost?
What are these yellow things?
These are part of a custom anti-roll bar setup that we're doing. These are adjustable anti-roll bars, so you basically turn them like this, and you get a varying amount of stiffness.
So is this for the front and the rear?
Yeah, so we've got to make the full kit and put it all together. But that's sort of something that we're going to get onto shortly.
Are these from anyone? From anywhere?
No, because we paid the full price, so you know,
Real
they
deal.
don't get any perks.
Okay, so moving into the inside of the car. Let's go around here. Now, obviously, you're staying left-hand drive, yeah?
Oh yes, you do not have a right-hand drive M3.
Correct.
E30 M3. So.
Correct.
And also, is it meant to be better for track driving, being on the left?
No, the other way around.
Oh.
Generally. Generally. But
This is what it's meant to be. And as you can see, the sort of back, the floor has been chopped out there quite crudely at the moment. We've done a lot of work to the rear beam here. which again we're probably best showing you from underneath once we're ready. But inside the cabin, yeah, we've got like a pedal box. We've still got a bit of work to do with controls, with the DCT shift, steering column and whatnot.
Your phone again,
Bloody hell, that phone is so loud.
So popular.
It's like a phone from the 80s.
Yeah. Sounds like the siren that this old ambulance used to have.
So you're going to run a pedal? Bloody hell, Craig. You're going to run a pedal box, or you're going to...
So which pedals are they, Rich? How do you explain?
They go like this, I like that.
They're top mounted pedals, aren't they? So they're...
They basically mount up to this support here, and then hang down. And
Your feet on that tool, are they?
It's all been set up for me, and the seating position is already perfect as well. We've already got all that sort of stuff. So
Have you had to modify the floor to get your seat low?
Yeah, we've had to modify. Anywhere where you see this sort of red oxide paint here, Nixon has kind of had his hand on it as well. So there's all sorts of reinforcement been done to the cage. You'll see in the corners up here, there's little bits of extra welding that we've done because, as always, safety is basically one of my major concerns, being a big guy in a relatively small car. So yeah, there's been lots of work that's been put into this to basically make it as structurally sound as possible.
Has the gearbox tunnel been modified for the original manual gearbox, or have you got to modify it again for the DCT?
No, it's done. That's pretty much it. We'll be filling in the hole because you don't need a shifter. But basically, yeah, that's a tunnel. It's massive. It's a massive tunnel, but we can fit whatever we need in there.
Cool.
That's all done. We've just got prop chef back from Dave Mack there as well, and I guess that's kind of it for the top. We've got a fuel cell going here, which is basically well protected. With all the bars around it, and this is the frame again that it sits on. Yeah. It's all unfinished, as I say. This is a standard.
That's a standard box.
Yeah,
those are quite heavy.
Yeah, it's a standard E90 box. Being able to pass normal track day decibel limits is quite important to me as well. And with the extra weight in the front, I'm not shy of putting a little bit of extra weight in the back. If it is a problem, we'll sort it out at some point.
Are you after a 50-50 balance?
You won't get a 50-50 balance with this. We'll get hopefully as close to that as possible, but we'll have to wait and see.
I've got a tip for you.
What are the standard tips?
It's not these.
Just these are the standard tips.
Oh, well.
Yeah, they're disgusting. It's fine because it covers the bumper covers.
On the normal
most
car,
of it,
they're okay.
But yeah, it's not having any chrome gash bits on it.
So Craig's made that as well.
Yeah,
just
so
to hold it all.
this is the support for the rear part of the exhaust, and again the idea is it has the same sort of reliability as the standard system, so we use as many parts off the E90 as we can. And then we've got a little tow hook point here, so making sure we do all the stuff now rather than after it's been stripped and painted. So underneath here you can see a gigantic diff. Again, reliability was sort of order of the day here, so we've gone for the biggest diff that you can get, which is a 210 ring gear. So it's out of it's the same size as you get in like M5s, E46 M3s and stuff like that. This one, I think, did it come out of an E?
7 Series, I think.
Yeah, it was an old 7 Series of some kind.
The back plate is a E90, E30 M3.
Yeah, so we've gone for a double mount on it here because they have a real problem with snapping back plates and stuff like that, and big power.
And the big heatsink is that M5.
Yeah, it's really handy that as well.
So I'm looking at this, and it's an E30 subframe.
Yeah.
Why have you done that instead of putting an E90 M3 subframe, which Craig has done on a couple of conversions?
We did think about it, but it widens the track so much. I think the track's, it's at least 60 mil wider, which means, I could probably get it to work, but it's going to have horrible looking wheels on it. And also, they did get these to work quite well back in the day. It's just about sort of making sure you can get the adjustment where you want it to be. So we've done the usual eccentric bolts in everything and Powerflex bushes that we've got. We'll do a little bit more reinforcement on the arms themselves. We've built in some adjustment here, basically so we can raise and lower the beam as we need to. And with this, I've already mocked it up on our laser alignment gear to basically give it the perfect camber and toe that we require. And then started working on the arches as well, because the wheels that we're using are quite big E30 M3. What are these, Rich?
Whoa.
What specs are
Work MCO, so it's the same wheels as what we're running on the Driftworks R32 Skyline, but not on a manual alert. This is Ash Titan Bronze.
Yeah, and they are 17 by, are they 10s at the back?
I don't know.
I think they're 10s.
So 17 by 10.
Yeah, and again we're using the R888R on there at the moment. We might change that, but
Oh, this is a good tyre. We run this on our BMW race car, and that is a good endurance tyre.
Yeah,
a
that's
huge
the
step
idea.
up from the AAA.
is it?
Yeah,
Excellent,
gigantic.
good.
So
That's
then-
kind of what I thought as well.
There's a massive hole in the floor.
Yeah, basically this has just been to give ourselves a little bit of room to work with stuff like this beam axle, because we've got to reinforce with the cage all around where it goes. So basically we've just chopped the floor out for now, and we'll put whatever we want back in there, something with a bit of structure to it. As I said, we've got the Dave Mack prop shaft back today, and Craig is currently working on the exhaust. It's a bit of a strange way to look at the car because we were looking at it from the back to the front.
Yeah.
But I guess just come and have a look at the front again.
This is one of your nicest exhausts, I'd say, so far.
Yeah, it's not finished yet, but it's doing a grand bit of work.
Super shiny.
People like shiny.
Yeah.
Normal Morrison spec. I mean, that's actually, it has to go up a little bit. So it's just hanging at the moment because it has to be above. It can't be the lowest part of the car. So.
Yeah, so again, I can't emphasise enough how much ground clearance bothers me when things aren't tucked up and exhausts are scraping on the floor. It compromises how low you can make a car.
Just shoddy, Ted, shoddy.
So yeah,
thing
Craig,
is,
I don't even need to tell Craig that anymore. Basically, he knows that if I look at the side of the car and I can see exhaust lower than the body of the car, it's going to get redone.
So what's the lowest point going to be, do you reckon?
It looks like the
gearbox.
sump on the gearbox, but we're talking about making a titanium plate on that.
The subframe is actually probably the lowest point. So we'll make some sort of protection.
So is this the underneath of the DCT gear?
Yeah, so it's a plastic sump as well, so really durable.
Why would you have a plastic sump?
That's just the way they make stuff nowadays. So yeah, this is a gigantic gearbox. It's got loads of coolers that go with it as well. It's heavier than the manual version. So lots of people will be asking why you did it, but as I said, it's part of the reason was basically how much I love driving the E90 or E92 M3 DCT on track. I think it's just ridiculously quick. So yeah, that's staying. And yeah, as I say, we're probably going to create some kind of titanium belly plate here, sort of like to deflect it. Yeah, so it protects the sump a little bit. This is a modified sump. This is one that we've reduced the height of. It's probably about an inch, wasn't it? Something like that.
Probably a little bit more, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
And we've added a manual dipstick into it and all the usual stuff that you have to do.
Manuel dipstick.
Yeah.
Why? What was the original?
Electrics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which, in hindsight now, wouldn't be so much of an issue because we're using a standard DME, standard ECU for it as well. We've got modified front cross member as well, housing the steering rack here.
What's the steering rack from?
It's a custom steering rack that
Wow.
I had made. I think it was Titan Engineering that did that for me, and it's all kind of guesses based on my experience with the CSL rack in the E46 M3, the V10 car that I built as well.
What's the turn, if you know the
I can't remember. I ordered this about a year and a half ago. And
Yeah, but not like too super quick, just somewhere.
it can't be because it's
three,
yeah.
I think CSL's a 3, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
Or about 3, so.
It can't be too quick because it's fully manual. And then we've got these posh bits and pieces here that basically I've also hacked up.
Are these not an E30 item then? Or?
I think these are genuine. Are they?
German touring car.
Yeah, it's a German touring car part. So that's this.
Oh, it's Group A arms,
Group A's,
yeah, right.
So, and basically what I've done here as well is because they're really compromised lock for the big wheel, and I'm not bothered about like drift spec steering lock on this, but it does my head in when I watch race cars with limited lock spinning out in the wet. I just think, what's the point? Why have you limited your lock so much? So I've actually modified the lower arm here and repositioned it so that the tension rod, if you like, here is in a different position, and we've got relatively decent steering angle. So hopefully, should anything go awry in the wet at the Nürburgring,
and we do like a skid every now and then.
oh yeah,
regardless, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Final lap, yeah.
Last lap out.
Just one more.
Black flag. Go home.
So yeah, that's it. And So we're using standard headers on it because they're just basically pretty much a work of art.
Did they go straight in as well, or was it a bit
It
tight?
kind of fits, yeah. We've had to do a little bit on the
We
bulkhead.
did quite a lot of that was really important that the standard headers fitted and worked.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how good you are at headers, to replace them and make them better will be something special.
A lot of work, yeah.
It's not something the average guy could do in a shop.
You're not the average.
No,
Not in my eyes.
but they're all hydroformed, and there's I can dreadfully.
And even just the work and maths that goes into them.
I mean, BMW put a lot of time and effort into them, and they work, and they're so compact, considering the size. They're amazing. So just why not use them?
So you haven't had to widen the engine bay as such?
No, it's all standard in that respect. It's just pushed back into there's little bits and pieces of the firewall that have been modified ever so slightly, but nothing too serious.
Yeah.
It's not had the firewall moved. It's just parts of this engine were causing it to stick a little bit too far forward for my liking. And as you can see now, we've got so much room for radiators and things like that. We even measured up the standard E92 M3 item the other day, and it looks like we can get the whole rad pack in there, including oil cooler, including. Shall we fit air conditioning?
Well,
Yeah.
Why would you go for the OEM BMW one over like an aftermarket alloy one?
It just works with this engine, doesn't it?
It works.
Yeah.
So
and
why
the thing
change
is,
it?
well, if you're a Nürburgring or something like that, and you have a stone go through it or stick through it, you can go to a dealer or Euro or whatever and get a replacement. Which is a lot to be said for having, if it's too bespoke.
Yeah.
The radiator's designed to run on the car, on the Nürburgring. It will have been tested there, and hot weather Dubai,
right.
all that sort of stuff. It's all, it's all within spec. Yeah, and especially as this is going to be less stressed with less weight.
Yeah.
Depends on how much Philpott's on over Christmas. I guess.
It is that time of year, isn't it? So, yeah.
Beery dicey turkey time.
I think that kind of about sums up the car for now. There's going to be a lot of little things that we've not pointed out, but perhaps we'll do sort of some stuff in more detail and more focus later on down the line. This is really now, because we've got the donor car, finally got the E92 M3 slight crash damage car. It means that this is going to happen quite quickly.
Because
now.
one of the original headaches Phil was looking up when doing the DCT gearbox is getting all the electronical.
Yeah,
parts.
the
electronic.
Yeah.
So
now it's going to run. Basically, the other part of this car is we're not just doing it because of the DCT gearbox. It's going to have the correct MK60 ABS unit. It's going to have steering angle sensors. It can have traction, but obviously I don't ever have that on. So basically, it literally should be like the running gear from an E92 M3 inside a smaller package, weighing 600 kilos less.
So Phil has bought a crash damage E92 M3.
Yep.
Which we then just taken. You've already had the engine, so it was just the gearbox that was taken.
Yeah, but then there'll be all sorts of other bits, like you need the correct DME and the correct ABS unit. They all need to talk to each other, so having it all from the same car really helps. So yeah, hopefully we'll see lots of progress on this.
What do we think our ETA is, or ETD?
I want it to be done by the end of the year. It's a complicated project, but Craig, what do you think?
Well, it was going well till you brought another project in.
Oh yeah, we're still working on it.
Oh, can you just do this one? So,
I mean, some of the stuff is out of both of your hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to send this car along with the E92 off to get the wiring done, haven't you?
Yeah. So we're having that done by another company called, I think, Grinrod Motorsport. So we're basically just trying to get to the stage where we can land it on them and they can do all
What is
the
actually
wiring.
left to do before they can wire the car?
We need to speak to them and find out what they need us to do. So there's all sorts of stuff: brake lines, hoses, fuel, loads of stuff to do. So it's going to take a few more weeks yet of our time. Cool. Yeah, happy days.
Very
guys.
exciting.
We'll keep you up to date anyway.
And if anything, put a comment or share it, like it, do whatever else you do on YouTube. But yeah, ask us questions.
Yeah,
and-
Phil likes replying to comments.
Yeah, I do
so-
actually do a tap on the keys myself sometimes.
Yeah, so if you've got any questions, or if you've got one and you want to know how to ruin yours as well.
And if you think we ruined this, please let us know. I mean, we'll tell you we're wrong.
I know we've ruined it, but I didn't start it. I'm just making it correctly ruined.
You're putting the Driftworks touch on a car that could have been a lot worse.
It will be.
This is not
be a
ruined
weapon,
at all.
so,
This is a new lease of life.
and it won't be green.
It's not going to be green.
Definitely not green.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
See you later.